Not all revolutionaries carry weapons. Some of them just use their brains. Welcome to Curriculum Conversations with your host, Lavinia Stennett. And today we're going to be discussing an amazing person called George Padmore, who hailed from Trinidad. He was born in 1903, and his whole life was dedicated to Pan-Africanism. So when he started his work, he really wasn't the type of person who was like, I'm just going to take to the streets and, just talk about what I feel like. He was an organizer. He was a thinker. And not only was in the UK, in Tennessee, my guy was in Russia. Russia. So, thinking about George Padmore and his impact, it really just stands out to me because he was able to really think about these institutions that sometimes when we're thinking about revolutions go amiss. So he was, targeting the media because he saw the media as a tool for state propaganda and not just something that was like impartial. It was biased. It was used as a tool to make sure that the imperialist states were able to continue to function. So, his work was really anti-media, and he really was able to champion and allow his intellectualism to feature narratives that allow people to question what is coming out in the media right now. And I think we're in a society now where we're able to kind of think about the role of the media more broadly, but George Padmore was so influential in this way before any of us actually really started to even think about the impact of like fake news on Instagram, fake news on X and all these other platforms, right? But what also he was able to do was organize people. So he was the chair of the 5th Pan-African Conference up in Manchester. So yeah, literally a Pan-African conference was happening way back when George Padmore was alive, and he was able to bring together thinkers from not only the Caribbean but also Africa. We think about people like Kwame Nkrumah as like, one of the fathers of Pan-Africanism, if you like, and nationhood. But his ideas were largely influenced by his colleague George Padmore, and that was primarily because George Padmore was so influential to be able to kind of bring together a very anti-capitalist, pro-Soviet thinking that I think so many people disliked from America and the UK. But he was able to be here, and not only was he in the UK, but he was also in North London. So you sometimes pass by like Camden. Yeah, this was an area that George Padmore was also heavily influential in. And I'm thinking about the legacy of this man, and I just genuinely feel inspired when I think about people who were active in this, type of resistance that were able to, rally people, get people together, but also go forward to get people to actually think towards one direction. And we think about the impact of that. It goes way beyond just like books. It goes way beyond media. It's actually in the thinking. It's an ideology that will last generations to generations to generations. So George Padmore, he's been like written about more than enough, but particularly by my colleague, Dr. Rodney Worrell, who is based at UWI in Barbados. So UWI is the University of the West Indies, and he's written a whole book about his life and his impact and his influence, and it's such a great book. And for anyone that wants to learn more about Pan-Africanism and also being able to like bring people together through education, through organizing, but also through just being very intellectual, George Padmore is your guy. He's often understated, but I would say he was the silent person and the brains behind the movement of Pan-Africanism in the 1900s. So this has been Curriculum Conversations. We've spoken about George Padmore, Pan-Africanism, and also using your mind to influence the world. So stay tuned for more.